Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. I am the niche fragrance collector. Frequently asked questions that I do get on the channel are all about different designations. What do they mean? Eau de toilette, eau de parfum. What does that actually mean? And then the other one that I get quite a bit is a cologne in reference to a perfume for a man, and is perfume in reference to a fragrance for a woman? Let me start off with the designations. Essentially, each designation basically means the level of oils that is in the perfume. The level of oils represents how potent, how much density, how much volume does this fragrance actually have, both in its projection, long lasting, its sillage, what sort of trail will it have as you wear this. The higher the oil concentration, the more power that this perfume actually has. The very first designation is an aftershave. It used to be referred to as an eau fraîche. An eau fraîche was essentially a perfumed water. Think old school rose water. 1 to 3% worth of oils in there, same in an aftershave. The difference is with the eau fraîche, the bulk of it was made up with water. In an aftershave, the bulk of it is made with alcohol. But essentially they're both the same. And really it's meant to be a vibrant hit of that particular fragrance, but the lasting power is probably about 30 minutes to an hour maximum. The next one is eau de cologne, and eau de cologne tends to have between 3 to 5% of oils. There is a misconception that an eau de cologne will last you all day. I haven't found that the case with myself. The beauty of an eau de cologne is that it's normally vibrant and fresh. It tends to be very citrus in its opening. A classic example of that is the Santa Maria Novella fragrances, in particular this one here. It was created in 1612 for Caterina de' Medici, who was going to become the Queen of France. This is an explosion of incredible citrus oils that she wanted to essentially remember her Italy by. So it's all these beautiful citruses from Calabria. There are some florals in there. The idea behind an eau de cologne is that it puts a spring in your step. However, 2 hours later, you do need to refresh again and bring that fragrance back. Projection-wise, you tend to find that an eau de cologne has it's almost like a body to a medium, depending on the type of fragrances. They don't last long, but their pricing is relative to the amount of oil that's in there. The next is an eau de toilette. Eau de toilettes tend to have between 10 to 15% of oils. Now they have a much better staying power. An eau de toilette is fantastic for an office environment as it gives now the fragrance a bit more push. Lasting power tends to be 4+ hours, depending on the fragrance. And you'll find that all the big brands tend to have an eau de toilette, but also an eau de parfum. The eau de parfum is where I prefer to live. I find that the oil concentration tends to be between 15 and 20%. What that means for me is now the fragrance has a lot more volume. It allows it to push out a lot more. So I tend to find that the projection on the fragrance tends to be a lot stronger. I tend to find that the sillage on the fragrance tends to be a lot stronger, and the trail is a lot more pronounced. I also find that the longevity on the fragrance normally is around 5+ hours. In a lot of cases, it's 7+ hours on a perfume. And I'll spray it in the morning. Actually, in a lot of cases, it's until the next day. The next one in the equation and the upgrade on oils is an extrait de parfum. And you find that an extrait de parfum tends to have between 20 to 30% oils. It's a lot more robust. It tends to have a lot more complexity in those notes. The fragrance has a lot more volume now, a lot more staying power. I find that most extrait de parfums tend to last on me 24 hours without a problem. I spray in the morning and I am detecting this fragrance the next day. The last one in this equation is an ATTAR. An ATTAR essentially is no alcohol now in the fragrance. It's only the oil, and you need to activate that. So if you were to open up the ATTAR and smell it on its own, it tends to be subdued. So as you put it on your skin and you activate it through heat, the fragrance then opens up. It blooms, and depending on how much you put on, it really creates an incredible scent cloud. Interestingly, it's alcohol that is a booster to the fragrances. So if you were to accidentally spill an ATTAR, yes, you would detect a very distinct and strong fragrance, but not like if you were to drop an extrait de parfum. This thing will perfume your house for the next month comfortably. When it comes to perfume or cologne, perfume meaning for a woman, cologne meaning for a man. Where does that come from? During the late 60s, marketing agencies wanted to sell more fragrances to men, and they felt that by calling it a perfume, that had a female connotation to it and men would shy away from it. But by calling it a cologne, then men would then pay attention. So Brut 33 is a cologne. Old Spice was deemed as a cologne also. But the word cologne is derived from eau de Cologne. Where did eau de Cologne actually come from? In fact, it was actually created for the very first time in 1709 in the town of Cologne in Germany. An Italian man by the name of Giovanni Maria Farina, who wanted to create an aqua mirabilis, used the citrus oils from his homeland, blended it with an esprit de vin, and created this incredible formula that was vibrant and citrus, aromatic, alive. It was a huge success. Now, where do all these things come from? What is esprit de vin? What is an aqua mirabilis? Europe, after the bubonic plague, was incredibly fearful of diseases. And because their science had, well, there wasn't enough of it, they believed that diseases was actually transmitted through smell, through the scent. And so by having a beautiful smell actually meant that you were purifying the air and therefore killing that disease. They created a thing called aqua mirabilis, and it started with the royalty from that area, in which they would bath themselves with these miracle waters and found that wounds would heal and also that they would never get diseases essentially. So this became a huge success and a huge business. One of the core ingredients in these aqua mirabilis was alcohol. Esprit de vin is basically a concentrated alcohol using grape. So it was actually the alcohol that was disinfecting wounds and things of that nature. It was much later that through science they discovered that diseases are not transmitted through bad smells. But by that stage, eau de Cologne had entrenched itself as a beautiful fragrance. But even though it didn't have the miracle healing that they once claimed it to have, it's such a beautiful scent. For me, especially the Santa Maria Novella fragrances and the way that they construct their eau de Colognes are vibrant, citrus, they're alive. Interesting, cologne also signifies a vibrance in citruses. So you take something like this, which is from a house called Maison Sœur, and it's called Cologne de Figuier, which essentially is a fragrance celebrating fig. Now, interestingly, this is an eau de parfum, but they're calling it a Cologne de Figuier. Why is that? The terminology cologne also signifies an vibrancy when it comes to citruses, vibrancy when it comes to these aromatic notes that begin the actual fragrance. A cologne, even though it might be an eau de parfum, if it's designated as a cologne, it signifies that those opening notes are vibrant with oranges, lemons, and other citrus notes. In fact, if you love fig as a fragrance note, I'd recommend to you Cologne de Figuier, pure magic. So there you have it, different designation on fragrance types and what they actually mean. If you have any questions for me in regards to perfumery, make sure you put that in the comments as I'd love to answer that for you. Thanks everyone, we'll see you guys all on the next episode.